watching the little thing go round. Oh, now we're live. Now
There
we're
we go.
live.
Fantastic.
Hey, Mike Lawson here with CU Broadcast, reporting remotely from the World Credit Union Conference, which is taking place in Boston. I'm in San Diego. We had to do a little plan B this year. I couldn't be there because I caught a bug at the last minute, and oh my gosh, so frustrating. But anyway, we did plan B, and we're doing some live remote interviews. And speaking of that, our guest for this live remote is Caroline Vahrenkamp from Filene Research Institute. Caroline, how are you?
I am great. I'm sorry that you couldn't make it. It's been a great time here in Boston.
That's what I've heard. I've been following everything diligently on LinkedIn and Twitter and things like that. So it's really, I'm experiencing some serious FOMO, missing out on a lot of things. But I'm glad you guys are having a great time there. This is one of my favorite conferences of the year because I love the global vision, I guess, if you will, of the conference, because we go to so many conferences in the States and we talk about domestic stuff. But when you go to the World Credit Union Conference, you get everything on such a global level. It's really cool to see the movement on that level. What have you experienced so far?
Yeah, it's very similar. It's seeing the differences and the similarities, the things that credit unions in other parts of the world are experiencing that are very similar to what we're experiencing in the U.S. Talent acquisition and retention being a big key part of it. The rate environment, hybrid work, all these sorts of things that we're all experiencing. And then how different we are, that different economic situations and different regulations and different just market conditions in different institutions. It's in different countries. It's been fantastic. I've been spending a lot of time with Irish credit unions over the last few days, and it's been a fantastic experience learning.
I hear there's a very large Irish contingent there. So
very large Irish contingent.
Good people, fun people. Yeah, that's a good group to hang out with. I think all the folks there are fabulous. So yeah, good stuff. All right, Caroline. Well, let's talk about, you had a session earlier this morning. You were actually telling me before that we got the recording going here that you were on the big stage.
On the big stage, which you don't expect for a breakout. You think you're going to get in one of the small rooms. And
right.
You practice for the small, and then when you got on the big one, you're like, oh.
All right. Well, I'm sure you handled it just fine. You handled it just fine. So the topic here was attracting, retaining, and managing talent in the hybrid area, because some of the topics that you just talked about here. So give us a quick overview here of your session, and we'll dive into a couple of details here.
Well, it's really about the state of work has changed.
Yeah.
And while some things have returned to normal post-pandemic, the Great Resignation is largely over.
Yep.
The lift we saw in real incomes has cratered out because of inflation. There's been a lot of the things that have sort of reset. What hasn't reset is the desire for work from home, the desire for that flexibility and work-life balance we see consistently. Around 30% of employees in the United States about 30% of hours worked during the United States are worked from home.
Okay. I see that.
Across the board. Some people are working full-time in the office. Some people are full-time remote. Some people are hybrid. But all added together, 30% of hours worked are worked from home.
Okay.
And we're seeing that shift. That change isn't shifting. We're also seeing that a massive increase in entrepreneurialism, that the number of new small businesses started shot up after the pandemic, and it has stayed shot up.
Really?
And we had been declining as a percentage of population growth
for
decades, since the 70s. There have been fewer and fewer small businesses formed in America, and now it's just out the roof. So you're no longer just competing with other employers. You're competing with, can you keep the employee from working for themselves?
Right. And inventing. Well, like, you're staying at home. You got, your mind starts getting creative, and I totally get that 100%. So there's more. That's another level of, I guess, competition, if you will, like you just said. You're competing not only against other jobs or other work environments, but that person themselves, like thinking, I can build a better widget type of thing.
Why am I working for the man when I can be working for myself? And so many, especially young people, we're seeing this really among Gen Z and younger millennials really take off.
Yeah.
The side gig that becomes the full-time gig.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a great opportunity for credit unions from a small business lending standpoint. But that's
there you go. I like the silver lining there, Caroline.
Yeah.
Well done.
But it's also a question of like, what are we doing to make sure that we're providing the right environment to keep our people here?
Well, that leads me to my next question here which was one of the bullet points in your talk here. So how can credit unions enhance their ability to recruit and retain not just good employees, but the right employees, those who want to hang around for a while?
Honestly, I think a lot of it is lean into your impact, lean into your mission.
Mm-hmm.
The first step, how do you recruit the right ones? Look for skills, not education, not experience. Look for the skills that have. So you might have someone that's a very public facing position. Look for someone that's just really good in front of people, even if they've never counted money before. Someone who's really good in front of people is going to learn the money. You can teach banking. You can't teach the fundamental skills of analytical ability or extroversion, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then second, think about the mission. Think about how do you advertise what you do as being unique and different? So just as much as you're marketing yourself to the market and to your members and to non-members as we are this credit union and we're different from the banks because we represent this community. However it is that you frame that, take that same energy and use it in your human resources too.
Yeah.
Use it with your people, because if they buy into the fact that you're different and you're unique and you are a special place in the community, then you become a special place to work and you'll get better candidates or candidates that are a better fit for you.
Well, I'm sure you've seen studies out there or reports out there that the younger generations want to be a part of a mission-driven organization rather than just checking in and checking out, do your 8 hours and then you're gone. So I mean, is this that kind of solidifies that point, right? So
it is. Now, again, for most of them, they will say that they want a mission-driven organization, but ultimately a lot of times it comes down to practical dollars and cents. And that leads to, what are your benefits packages?
Good point.
And are your benefits packages, not just are they competitive, but are you up to date in what matters to people now, which is work flexibility, which is parental leave, which is mental health being covered.
That's a big one.
Issues, things that we don't have in standard practices, at least not when I was a CFO. Yeah. And now it's really critical for a lot of people. They want these benefits. Think about that aspect. Think about, are you offering career paths? Are you offering opportunities to be cross-trained and move up? And then are you doing it in a way that you're really celebrating the successes of what you're doing for your members?
Yeah. See, that's what I was looking for when I was younger and starting out in several new jobs and stuff. I was always looking for that career path. How do I move up in my organization and continue to make a big difference? So that was a biggie for me. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that still rings true today, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. And we see that a lot, where especially, and this is why now is such a unique and special time in credit unions, because we've had such an overturning of the establishment. So many long-term leaders have looked at the last 4 years and said, like, yeah, I'm out. This is too much. It is now time to retire and spend time with the grandkids.
There's a lot of that.
And we've had so much turnover, but that gives so many new opportunities for leaders and future leaders in this industry to step up and bring their skills to bear. And so it's a remarkable time of change and growth and opportunity in this industry if we capture it.
Yeah. Got to capture it. That's the important thing there for sure. One of the other bullet points that struck me was, how can credit unions better leverage their physical workspace to drive engagement? That's a bit of a twist on things. So people want to work from home, So
yeah, but people want to work from home. But if you're going to ask them to be in the office, and there are valid reasons why you want a hybrid,
for sure,
format, right? From a building of culture, from the accidental run-ins that you have, from connections and continuity. There are valid reasons to have people come in. Oh, yeah. But if you're going to have them come into a place that's welcoming and quality. So I'll give two kind of counter examples if I can.
Sure.
I worked at a credit union where the call center was in the basement with no windows in a farm, just dark. And the only people who had windows in the entire corporate office were the C-level executives. That everyone else was in a cube, fluorescent lights. You didn't see the sun. And in the winter, you'd come in when it was dark and you leave when it was dark.
Yeah, you literally didn't see the sun.
Even working just an 8 to 5 day, you just did not see the sun.
Yeah.
And that's not an environment that people want to go back to, right? It may be great for the executive, but it's not great for the workers.
Right.
And they'll counter that with the Filene office, which unfortunately is no longer around because we're all remote now and didn't make sense to have an office nobody was going to.
Right.
But I love that office.
I heard
a fireplace, which in a Madison winter is luxurious. There was everyone had an office, but with transparent walls. So you could be open and it felt like you were connected, but you had the ability to have private conversations, which is so important now since so much of our interaction, even when we are coming into the office, is via Zoom with suppliers and partners and other credit unions and people that you work with. You're having these teleconference conversations all the time. You need to be able to have a space for that.
Yeah.
The filing workshop, we had a swing. We had a great
I remember the swing, yes.
To get space for oxygen, to breathe. There was space for people to relax, to do the crossword puzzle together in an open area, and still places where they could focus and places where they could collaborate in a very well lit and atmospheric location. But can we take those concepts and apply them to our executive spaces, our managerial spaces, our branches? And a lot of credit unions will have beautiful branches, and then their corporate office will be cube land. Is there a way that we can make that a place that people want to come and are inspired to come and are productive once they're there?
Oh yeah, that's a big deal. Especially if you got to be there. It's got to be
worth being there. Yeah.
That's a big deal for sure. So what opportunities do credit unions have to balance the risks and opportunities of hybrid work to support organizational performance? Because this is a big deal too. So you want to perform. when
you ask employees, when you ask individual workers, how much more productive are you when you work from home? 90% of workers say they're as productive or more productive than they were than being in the office all the time. When you ask managers that question, 90% of them say employees are as or less productive.
Interesting.
But only 10% are more productive. So there's this big gap. Individuals say, I'm more productive because I'm able to focus. I'm not having conversations. I'm not drawn into meetings. I'm able to sit down and get my work done.
Right.
Managers often think, I'm not seeing you get your work done. So how do I know that you're getting your work done? And the challenge there is we're conflating two different notions: activities and results.
Yeah.
If someone's getting results done, I don't care how fast they're moving on the hamster wheel. Right?
Yeah.
If they're able to get the results done in half the time it takes somebody else, awesome. Awesome. And then maybe I can give them new opportunities and new things to do in that other half the time.
Right.
But if my managerial style is walking through the halls and making sure someone's on their computer, that's not leadership. That's supervision. That's study hall.
Yeah, study hall. I like it.
Being a study hall proctor. Right? So let's lead, right? Inspire people to do more and better, and then treat them like adults. And then the real focus for me in a hybrid work, the thing we have to focus on the most is that cultural risk. There is a very real risk if you have a lot of people working from home that the culture breaks down because people get into silos and you end up only working with the people that you work with. And so if you're in lending and you are just focused on, underwriting and approving loans and processing and funding loans, you may never, ever interact with anyone in operations or marketing or IT or any of the other departments because you're just dealing with your group. And whereas in the office, you have those accidental bump-ins in, the hallway or the break room or coming out of the bathroom. There's these places where you run into people and you have that connection. You build the culture that way. So you have to be very focused and determined about how you're going to build the culture digitally. And it has to be an effort that you're really making to say, we're going to have meetings that aren't necessarily always about work, but that are about what we do. Right. And I think the real value here is, again, lean into the impact. Because if everybody shares those stories that you have at your credit union of the member who gets their first loan, the member who is now able to save, right, and finally has a new savings habit, the member who thanks you for saving them money by refinancing their bad loan, the member who's gotten their credit score up through your help. If you talk to any of your frontline staff, they all have these stories. Bring them up, share them, make that part of the regular communication that you're building, and that helps build that culture because everyone feels proud to be part of an organization that does those sorts of things. And that's you can make the culture work without having the accidental bump-ins if you're very intentional about that communication of the successes that you bring.
Yeah, I always enjoyed, working in the office and having those impromptu bump-ins like you're talking about. And all of a sudden you get this kind of instant brainstorm and like, oh my gosh, let's do that type of thing. So that's kind of what I miss about working in a place, because there's definitely pros and cons for both. So, but yeah.
I admit, like, I've been working from home since 2016. And so I so miss just being able to like randomly talk to people.
Yeah.
And about just dumb things, their dog.
Exactly. Well, sometimes those dumb things turn into really cool things,
Right.
So,
and then having hey, do you want to grab lunch? Oh, wow, this is a really cool product idea.
Yep.
Right. That comes from that. We miss that too. So you have to be intentional with communication to find ways to foster those cross-silo conversations.
Have we figured out the hybrid model, or is this going to be a work in progress till the end?
I think it's going to be a work in progress, because I think it varies by institution. I think it varies by place. I've seen some spots that are, 4 days a week at home. I've seen some places that are 1 day a week at home. What we do know from the research is that offering at least 1 day improves your staffing growth by 20% or so.
Yeah.
That just that one day, and then it goes up from there, right? So that if you staffing growth in 2023, if you didn't have any days off, or no days from home, you said you have to be in the work 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Your staffing growth was 2.5%. If you said it's completely remote, your staffing growth was 5.5%. And that's net growth, because it's not just that you're having a harder time getting people in, it's that you're having people leave for a better deal. What hybrid does is even offering that 1 day takes you from 2.5 to 3.5. And then you go, then 1, 2, 3, 4 days it's slowly incremental on that line, and then remote's wider. But even just 1 day, you improve so much because you're giving that little bit of flexibility that people need, because look at how much we've got on our plate. We're caring for kids. We're caring for parents increasingly. We've got, financial stress, side gigs. We've got so much on our plates that having that little bit of flexibility makes a huge difference.
No doubt.
So I don't think we're ever going to have like a model that's the go-to best practices.
Right.
As far as like which days are which or how to make that work. What I do think is the model is about intentional communication, transparency, and culture.
Yeah, and making that employee feel valued, and their I guess their state of life valued. So I get it. Totally. All right, Caroline, anything else here to add before I let you get back to the conference? Any final thoughts on this one? Because this one's going to evolve, like you said, it's going to keep evolving over time. And this is just
keep evolving over time.
Latest of what we're hearing.
We're going to see what works, and we're going to see what fails and what doesn't work. And what I hope people learn is the fail fast model, right? Learn what doesn't work, take responsibility for it, and then move forward. One of the things that I mentioned at the end that I think is really critical, and what separates a true leader, because a lot of this is leadership, right? What separates a leader from a manager is vulnerability. It's very hard for us in America, and actually for a lot of cultures, to take ownership of our mistakes, say, yes, I did that wrong.
Right.
And let's move forward. Right. To take responsibility, to say, that wasn't the right move. Let's do this. Instead, you were right. I don't know everything. I need your help. Being vulnerable is inspirational. It inspires your employees to be excited and help you and work with you, and it encourages them to be vulnerable themselves.
Yeah.
Because if you can be vulnerable together and say, we're not going to get everything right, we're going to make mistakes, right? There's going to be a product decision that wasn't great. There's going to be an investment decision that wasn't great. There's going to be something that we should have done better. You learn from that, you democratize, you socialize the failure.
Yeah.
And then you move forward. You don't finger point. You don't say, I told you so.
Good point.
You take ownership and you lead forward. And I think that's the kind of thing when we think about how to retain talent, leadership retains talent.
Mm-hmm.
And leadership means vulnerability.
Yep. So true. So true. That authenticity is so important these days, for sure. So good stuff.
Trust.
It's right. That's right. And then you get those people, and then they will perform. Oh my gosh. Will they ever? For sure. So good stuff. All right, Caroline, I'm going to let you get back to the conference. Thank you so much for doing this. I know you're being pulled in 100 different directions at this conference. We all are when we're at conferences. So I appreciate you taking time out to.
Yeah. At least you get to sleep in your own bed. So take that as some solace.
It's not bad. Not bad at all. All right. Thanks again. Appreciate the time. Well done.
Right, thanks, Mike. Bye.
Yep. And bye. And that's it. The stream is